Oh, and Brian Mosser's hitting me with the invite early. Let's take a quick lap of this circuit just to kind of get a feel for the conditions today. Thank you, Brian, for sending the invite. Let's see here. So in towards Casio Triangle now. Very heavy braking zone. That bit of back end sway there. Coming through the final corner. A little bit of a bump right about there, which time to time sends drivers for a little bit of a loop. That's me. That's my alarm telling me it's about time to go. In towards the first couple of corners here. Difficult braking zone, as you can see, I've already invalidated. Very difficult, as you kind of want to cut the inside of the corner as much as you can in through the S's now. Playing with the shifts as you go on through, up through Dunlop corner now. A lot of slide on the back end. That will be difficult come the race. Degner 1 and 2 held it all right there. Exit a little slow. In towards the hairpin now. Gonna take it a little bit wider, maybe carry some speed on the way out. Not bad. Your 200R now making the way towards the spoon curve. This is a difficult one here. Oh, yeah, I'm gonna pushed it well wide, I'm afraid. Oh, there we go. Let's try one more time. Let's give you a halfway decent lap here, at least, to go out with. So on the throttle now, down the pit straight. Very difficult first corner this is, as my previous attempt showed. You kind of want to take as much as the inside as you can, whilst also staying within track limits. So we'll take a couple there. Maybe a little bit slow through the first sector. Keep the exit nice. Kind of made a hash of it, I'll admit, but not the point. Oh, good save. Through the S's now. Got to be careful. Up through Dunlop curve now. Actually, oh, and I've gone way too much over exit there. As you can tell, this is a very difficult circuit in its own right. And that's probably why I don't race. But Brian has sent us the invite now, so I'll get in on that one. Hello, Spaceman. How we doing? Ignore the amount of dumbass that I just had there. Now, Suzuka's all about staying on track for us slower guys. Well, let me tell you something. I haven't raced Suzuka since round 2 of season 7. Granted, I did have a podium, but that was Div 5. No, that was Div 4 in the full wets with all the assists on I could possibly have. So, yeah, not fun. But as much as this is a difficult circuit, as much as the challenges that it does bring, it does also create some very fun racing, and it should be a great time tonight here in Division 2. I was initially scheduled to be in Division 3 this week, but it looks as if Div 2 is going to have more participants this evening, so that will be the reasoning behind that, as I'm just trying to, at the moment, get my computer and whatnot set up here as I knock everything over in the process, naturally. Why has Kitchen Nightmares been playing in my... not in my stream deck, but on my... What I'll do is I'll have the race going side by side. What would you say is the preferred tire strategy? Well, it's interesting because I think, assuming that it stays dry, you're going to see the majority of people go on medium tires and maybe towards the hards. But I think kind of a soft, medium, soft might be in play, considering that you want the most amount of grip around the circuit as much as you can. It's, again, very difficult track to get right. You got to take these corners almost every single time you go through them. You got to take it a different way. So having the grip, having the consistency at the very least, is going to be so important tonight. And I think that's, yeah, that's really going to bring kind of a two-stop into play rather than just going the conventional medium to hards. But I could be wrong. It's also going to depend on safety cars and, God forbid, if there is adverse weather on the horizon. So yeah, a lot of different options. But again, yeah, I would assume the majority of people are going to go medium, maybe try to extend them as much as they can, and then eventually to the softs. It's a tough ask. Again, I haven't raced competitively in several seasons now. I used to do it, and I haven't anymore. And since then, the games have changed so much, and so have the philosophies regarding how you take this track. I usually try to start on the hards, but I was thinking two-stop maybe today. Not a bad idea. The hards, I mean, if you're comfortable with the hards, if you've gone into a Grand Prix session beforehand and you've kind of, messed around with them and you think they're comfortable, that will be a very helpful thing to have because I think that would at least solidify the long game. Whether it kind of holds out that way or not is yet to be kind of decided. But definitely, I think starting on the hards might help you, especially considering this track is going to be more about, maintaining the consistent laps, maintaining pace, keeping mistake free. And despite if you get a bad start or not, there are definitely going to be people making mistakes in front of and behind you as well. That could result in your promotion, as you will, and it could also be the downfall as well for many drivers tonight. And I very much expect that to be the case. I'm going to clout this on my Snapchat story really quick, as we've got about 10 minutes to go till race time, and it looks for the time being we've only got 8 in the thing. But hey, this is gonna be good. We're going to get done with this race at about 10:30, and then FP1 of the real life Japanese Grand Prix is going to start around about that time. So it's going to be fantastic. Remember, we had the Australian round. I was able to go along with that. Hopefully D4 stays clean. There's usually a safety car or two. That is kind of the norm in which I've seen. Although I'm not amongst the Division 4 as much as I probably should, because there's a lot of quick drivers in that division. But again, it's just got to start maintaining the what do you call it? It's got to start maintaining the attendance for me to actually warrant going into that division. No offense, because I think again there's some great drivers, but 13 drivers around is not really cutting it for me, although that does seem to be the norm in virtual Grand Prix racing nowadays, so perhaps I should lower my standards. How's everybody doing tonight? Be sure to like and subscribe and, well, have a beer. I don't know. Grab the popcorn. Have a good one. This is going to be a fun one tonight. Hectic. Sometimes these hectic races always, kind of bring us some new winners out on top. We should be looking at a very solid Grand Prix here tonight. That's definitely what I would expect. So far we've got 10 of the. I enjoy your cast no matter what. So the division I tune in and turn you down during the race, but I'll rewatch them later. Well, I appreciate that because seriously, I hope. I tell you what, the interesting thing is now I've had this opinion for the longest time is that actually having the races pre-recorded and then uploaded after the race is actually better for exposure because that way people will, physically tune in if they haven't seen the race yet, which is great. Sometimes these guys, what they'll do is they'll, I'll have the race live streamed like this, which in fairness is always I think probably the best thing to do on account of having the accessibility. However, what they'll do is we'll see these drivers. They'll have the stream. The ping will go up immediately when I start the live stream process, and then they'll never see it again. They'll see the ping. They maybe click on it for just a minute or two, say hi, how you doing, like you're doing, Spaceman. But and then they'll never see it again. So I think pre-recording it is just better for this league exposure. I mean, if you look at the league YouTube account, which I haven't used in a little while because I got logged out of it and I'm trying to figure out the password to get back in. I'll have to rework that later. But if you look at the league YouTube account, which I'll pull up now, 268 subscribers, okay? If we look at the videos that we have currently on the channel, all of them averaging between 75 and at the most here 354 views. 354. And guess what? That was a race that I pre-recorded and then I put up there. It's one of those things. In fact, all of these, 150 for the last one I did, that was round 1 of the season with Jeddah, round 12 of last season with Portimao. We had round 11 had 80 of the previous season had 87. Monaco, for whatever reason, had 354. And then Coda had 116. Qatar and Mexico both had 87. Spa had 95. Abu Dhabi had 114. Las Vegas had 109. Imola had 123. I mean, this is telling me, as someone who is kind of getting into the idea, that pre-recording these things are better than the streams. They are more visible. And of course, I could. No, I agree with that 100%. I think Monaco is the bane of my existence and anybody else who ever drives the track. But the point being is that, I mean, I very well could make the extra effort to go in, sit down, edit the races, put them up on the league YouTube account to get them where they should be. But the problem is that if they kind of wanted to watch them that bad, they would just turn in live. But, I mean, that doesn't appear to be the case. I think, realistically, more leagues should be looking at having the races pre-recorded, because again, it doesn't have to be on a schedule. You can just upload it whenever the hell you want and then throw a ping in Discord and everybody watches it. That's kind of what I've noticed. I don't know. I could be wrong, but that's just my take on it, and that's kind of what it always has been as well. So we'll have to wait and see what the ordeal is. By the way, Porsche Super Cup race tomorrow, final 3 rounds of the season. And at the moment, we've got 8 checked in besides me. So if that's the case, we may be looking at, 7 checked in beside me. So we could be looking at a live stream of the Porsche Super Cup race tomorrow, which would be great because I think that league definitely deserves a lot of attention. Cake has been running it to the best of his abilities since the leagues have been incepted there. He's been doing very well. But yeah, hopefully. I may be at the Porsche Super Cup tomorrow. I tell you what, honestly, when we have divisions like that, and all credit to Cake and what he does with Gran Turismo 7, but that is the best because it's so, I would say, equal as far as car usage, right? I mean, LMP is even, but it still runs off of kind of the same principle as the of the Grade 3, where you have the qualifying session to get it thrown in. Porsche Super Cup, we have the 3 races, reverse grid, and everybody works out. The people who deserve to be at the top will stay there, and that sort of thing. Albeit, I'm a little surprised I won the one race that I did. But either way, I mean, it has been an absolute dream to be a part of that Midwest, the Porsche Super Cup, and I hope that we can perhaps look at following that kind of setup for both Grade 3 and the LMPs, because it desperately needs it at the moment. Liveries are awesome too. Oh my god, the liveries are the best part. If you ask me, I mean, the racing outstanding as it always is. The liveries though, goodness me. I mean, that is again, and I've said this time and time again. That is what I need to concentrate on my race. Good luck tonight. Hey, appreciate it, Spaceman. Thank you for tuning in. Good luck to you. Hopefully, Div 4 has a good one tonight. But it looks as if we're only a couple of minutes away from the start of tonight's Grand Prix. Well, the start of the qualifying up first, but yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Knuckles flying the Welsh flag tonight. That's interesting. Oh, I desperately need a piss break at the moment. I'm a little upset I didn't take one at the moment. That's all right. Keep in mind, Ayumu Iwasa, I think his name is the Japanese driver in F2, is going to be making his FP1 debut coming up in a little bit. That should be very fun to see. Looks like we're going to get ready to go here very shortly, hoping at least. Hopefully, we're going to get ready to go here. It's 9:31 here on the East Coast, so we're getting quite ready to go here. I'm hoping. Oh boy. Well, that was 3 hours ago. I wonder if it stayed that way. But I was just looking at it there. The Mets were getting no hit by the Detroit Tigers, and the Mets won that game. Are you insane? The Mets actually what they did. They were getting no hit until the bottom of the ninth. Detroit was up 1-0 from the second inning onwards, and then the Mets clang in two in the final inning to not only break the no hitter but to win the game. That has got to be one of the biggest comeback stories the Mets have had in forever, quite honestly. And a walk-off home run as well by Tyrone Taylor. Let's see. Hopefully, we're going to get ready to go here. It's got to be desperately close. Looks like the majority of people have readied up, so we're going to look to be getting ready to go here any second now. All right, here we go. 25 seconds and counting here. Oh, shit. I nearly just broke everything. That was almost a travesty of broken equipment there. Hard recording has started. Good luck to everyone tonight. Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the 5th round of this Division II season here in the Midwest eSports League. Tonight at the Suzuka International Racing Course on the eve of FP1 for the real-life Japanese Grand Prix. Hotspot on the call with you once again here in Division II. Been a pleasure to be along for the ride so far this season. After last week being in Division I at the Zandvoort circuit, we're back here. I'll take a look at the driver's standings at the moment. It's actually a tie ball game between that of Reimer and Say atop the table, 116 points apiece. That is just an unbelievable turn of events. That Fire Up Flow third at 99. Cake Thomas and Lancey tied at fourth at 96 points. Noganator 81, Electric Blade 76, Brian Mosser 72, Final Flame 69, nice, and Knuckles 67, the top 10 here. The constructors go like this. Ferrari atop the table at 200, or well, 199 to be exact. Aston Martin 163, Alpine 152, tied with McLaren at 152, Williams at 144, Mercedes 113, AlphaTauri 108, Red Bull and Alfa Romeo tied at 104, and Haas at 100. So a lot of competition to be had here. It has to be said, all of the pretty much everywhere in the top 10, we've got driver battles happening. We've got constructor battles happening there as well. Quite a gloomy looking day for the time being here at Suzuka. 18 cars on the grid, which should be quite good indeed. Just waiting for any pings saying that if there's going to be rain or not. Waiting to see our first driver out on track here. The Suzuka International Racing Course, founded by the... who was it again? I forget his name. I know who he is. It was the creator of Honda, but I forget his name off the top of my head. Basically decided he needed a test track for his cars, and well, that's where the Suzuka Racing Course was born out of that. And we'll have to wait and see now. Hightower is going to be the first driver out on track. He being on the medium tires, a little bit odd, has to be said here in the early stages of the qualifying session, but he's taken notes off of Scavney, and he's gone and trying to put in these reconnaissance laps in the beginning and trying to get himself a fair go at the circuit rather than just going at it blind on a fresh set of soft tires and wasting a set. So yeah, probably better to try to do that. Of course, it is kind of a lost art to be able to see that sort of thing, but either way. So the upcoming schedule here for Division 2 and, well, the rest of the F1 League as well. Japan this week, naturally. Qatar next week for Round 6. Monza, Round 7. Brazil, Round 8. Those are the next 3. Miami and Belgium round out the next 5 rounds. Should be a very entertaining season. We're already seeing a lot of drivers in the hunt for the Drivers' Championship. Of course, Reimer and Say tied at the top of the table, and yet still Fire Up Flow and Cake Thomas, less than 20 points behind. I mean, this is a very good season shaping up to be here. As what we have now, it's going to be Hightower making his way into the KCO Triangle to begin his first timed attempt here. Of course, on the medium tires, this isn't going to be his best time, but what it will be is at least a fair opportunity to get a feel for the circuit. Down the pit straight he goes, and making his way towards turn 1. Very interesting first corner this. A double apexed right-hander, but you got to kind of take off a lot of the inside. As you can see, Hightower really tried to get low there, and he does the same through turn 2. And now making his way towards the S's again, one of the best complexes of corners in the entire world, really, as far as world-renowned circuits. I mean, this place is absolutely ridiculous, and you got to take them differently almost every single time you go to them. Up the hill through the left-hander of Dunlop, it's a blind corner atop the hill, and the curb on the outside does tend to give you a little bit of oversteer. Definitely difficult through Degner 1, and then Degner 2 coming up here. Got to be careful of track limits on the way out, which he's done, although it appears it may have slightly hindered his time. In towards the hairpin here. A little bit of camber can give drivers the line around the outside to maybe make something happen. We don't always see it there, but when it does happen, it's fun. Going through 200R now, heading towards the spoon curve, as it's effectively called. It's another fun little corner, this, down into about 6th, maybe 5th gear sometimes. Another double apex left-hander sequence of corners. Down the back straight now, heading towards the 130-yard corner. This used to be a corner where you had to lift and maybe even take a downshift during the races. Not anymore. You can take this pretty much flat. Of course, we're still going to see drivers lift when they're on slower compounded tires like this of Hightower. Into the KCO triangle, otherwise known as the final chicane. Does quite well, although takes the bollard off of it, and that might be a problem. Although, fire up flow, I'm sorry, just going along with this, he has bend it coming out of the spoon curve there. That is an awful part of the track to go off in, and I'm afraid fire up flow has already... Well, that's going to be the end of the session. That's about it. He has taken way too much throttle on the way out of the spoon curve. Perhaps has he taken too much curb on the exit, and that could have been the culprit there. Cake Thomas on pole for the time being, 128.221. Pretty solid lap, although I have a feeling we're going to see a faster attempt coming up here shortly. We've got the AlphaTauri of Scavney making his way through Sector 1. That's not the AlphaTauri I was looking for. I was looking for the teammate of Call Me Maybe, who's gone 6th. We now have Hightower through the grass. Going through the yeses here. Looks like he's going to get himself back on track. But that little queue of drivers there that were coming through the spoon curve on timed attempts perhaps got really held up by Fire Up Flow's mishap, and maybe that's why we're seeing a lot of these times, kind of fall outside of a second and a half behind that of Cake Thomas. Again, Cakes is a solid lap, but it's not going to be better than, say, a 127.322. Well, he's put 0.9 of a second behind a Cake Thomas and Lancey. Well, it's a halfway decent lap there from Lancey, but I'm afraid even he is still 6.5 tenths off the pace of Say here after his first timed attempt. I mean, this guy in the Williams has been, pretty dominant every time I've seen him so far this season. I mean, if we want to get the statistics here, of course, won the opener in Saudi Arabia, hasn't won since in Division 2, but has had a couple of stints up in Division 1, and that would probably be the reason why we haven't seen that. Results I'm looking for now, it was that of Reimer taking the win last week in Zandvoort, I believe. So apologies, but I'm pretty sure No, it was corrected. It was just the schedule wasn't updated. So, yeah, Reimer being atop the table, he has won the previous 2 races back-to-back here, Australia and Netherlands, round 3 and 4. We'll have to wait and see if he can do that again today. He does appear to be on a timed attempt. Mandigo's making his way through 130R now, but we will go along with his teammate of Reimer as he makes his way through Degner 1 and Degner 2. This guy's so quick as he makes his way now towards the hairpin. He's got relatively clean track ahead of him. Maybe will he have the Mercedes Van Boom Mason in the way if he has somewhat of a hiccup, does the Mercedes, but maybe not. Final Flame at 126.920. That is the first driver of the day we've seen into the 126s. That is a massive time there, and that's done in Say by 0.4 of a second. Say, the driver that we thought was going to be heavily dominant today, well, that lap has almost immediately been bested by Final Flame. I mean, that is a ridiculous sight to see there. Down the backstretch, heading in towards the 130R corner now goes Reimer. He's kind of taking it a little bit more shallow than I would have typically have seen. He's not really taking as much of the track on the outside, maybe just keeps his line tidy there. With DRS and across the line now goes third, 127.594, moves within 7 out of Say for the second spot. So Reimer's got a little bit of work to do here, but for the time being, not bad. 10 minutes and 40 seconds remaining in the session now. We have the Alpine of Brian Mosser coming through the final stages of the lap now into the pit lane. We do also have the Williams of Hightower, who I believe might be finishing one here. No, it looks as if he's actually starting another one. Again, he is still on the medium tires. That won't be his best attempt, but at the very least, he's getting practice out there, and he is making the most out of the tires in which he has allocated. Chief Raid's into the pit lane, currently 11th, a clean 3 seconds off the pace. Mandy goes out on track now in his Aston Martin, currently 2.7 off the pace. So the top 4, I would go much to say the top 6, really competitive at the moment. Everywhere else is quite far behind. Matter of fact, that gap from 6th to 7th is 0.6 of a second. So yeah, lot of quick drivers in the top bit of the field here. This should be a well, you never know. We may see somebody walk away with it. We may see some calamity as well. That's always a possibility here at Suzuka. Ayahuasca on the medium tires now, one of the other drivers to put in mediums. Matter of fact, he's the third of the day to choose the medium tires, which is interesting. Again, we don't typically see this. Scavney is the one driver we see do this pretty much every week. Hightower, this is the first time I've seen him do it. Ayahuasca, definitely the first time I've seen him do it. Into the pit lane he goes, perhaps just getting a time on the board, but either way, 5th place in his Alpine on the medium tires. Mind you, the delta between the medium and soft tires, as you can see on your screen, probably at least a couple of tenths of a second. So on the softs, Ayahuasca could even find himself up towards 4th, maybe even 3rd. Coming around the final corner now, we've got the Alfa Romeo of Noganator about to start one here. Makes his way down the pit straight. Behind him, the Aston Martin of Mandigos. Let's actually go along with the Aston Martin here. Currently resides P10, 2 and 3/4 tenths off of the top spot for the time being. Through the first couple of corners he goes. Goes a little bit wider on exit the first one and then uses all the room coming out of turn 2. Through the S's he goes. The car does look on rails for the time being, but you can see he's a little bit tentative to get the power down. Might be an improvement here through Sector 1. Tough to tell. I didn't get to see his first attempt. To the timing line he goes. He is about 4.5 tenths of a second quicker. So I'm wondering where... I mean, maybe can we assume that he lost the time going through that first sector, maybe a little bit in the second sector. As he goes through the hairpin corner now, exits pretty well, a little bit slower than a couple of cars we've seen, but not bad. I think this is at least worthy of a top 10. I think, matter of fact, comfortably worthy of a top 10 for the time being, although we'll know that for sure by the time he gets in towards 130R for the final sector. Going through the spoon curve now. Oh, he's taking a lot of curb on exit there, only just kept it within track limits. Down the backstretch he goes to the timing line now, and he has improved by nearly 8 tenths of a second. That'll put him above Knuckles for around about the 8th, maybe 7th spot if he can link up the final bit of this lap good here. We'll have to wait and see. This is looking a massive attempt from Mandigos here out of the final corner and across the line, and he will go 7th. Good guess. 1.5 seconds off the pace. Sorry, what was that message there I only just saw? Dry race, 3% chance of rain from Brian. Thank you very much for that one. I mean, that is certainly good news in the case of we're going to see some overtakes, but I don't know, when you got a track like this, which is not very heavy on DRS and not a lot of overtaking zones, sometimes that rain is necessary to really provide the kind of the wild card to this Grand Prix, although it's still going to be a good one, I promise you that. And you know, again, sometimes these drivers, as Say goes 126.881, puts 4 100ths back to Final Flame. I tell you what, the gap on the top of the table there, very close indeed. That's going to be a good little battle to watch. Scavney has retired, and that is going in through 130R. Knuckles is off track there, as you can see, but I am very interested in how has he done that? Where has he actually crashed there? Well, that's interesting there for Scavney. That's well, he's going to put together a, what's his time there? 128.623. Not a bad lap at all. Matter of fact, 1/1000th of a second behind that of Noganator for the 8th spot. But, yeah, he has put that lap together on the softs as well. So I think that is, at the very least, a respectable time for Scavney. He's not going to stay within the top 10, but at least he'll, be in a halfway decent enough starting spot to really not warrant hitting the panic button. Hey, by the way, Electric Blade on track today. Let's go along with him for the final kind of half of this lap here. 5.5 minutes remaining here as he makes his way through the spoon curve. Intentional, retired after that? That's a good question. Through the corner here, I mean, there's the Marshall post on the outside. But, I mean, I don't know. Scavney is not the type of driver to do that sort of thing. Yeah, that's an odd one. That's an odd one. Yeah. Honestly, from the look of it, that may have been intentional. I mean, I really don't know. That's a really good question. What? Well, Electric Blade has gone sixth. I don't know what just happened there with the leaderboard, but Reimer across the line has gone 127.232. Improves by 3.5 tenths of a second there, up to, well, he'll stay fourth, but I would say comfortably on the second row at the moment. Ayahuasca making his way through Sector 1 at the moment, going through the S's and up the hill through the Dunlop curve. Around the final corner now is the Red Bull of Bobber Yates making his way. Looks like he'll be starting one here shortly. Either that or it's Knuckles, who Knuckles not long ago we saw have a trip to the grass going through the S's, and that's why he's in here. But again, very odd to see Scavney go off track and retire again. He's not one of those drivers that we typically see retire on track on purpose, which, by the way, that does result in a qualifying ban for the next round. So he either has crashed that car in a very specific way there that I don't know, or he's had a good reason for retiring on track. Either way, I'm not too sure. But what we can see here is Reimer finishing up his lap. We've got Ayahuasca making his way through Sector 3 now, in towards Sector 3. And he's slower by about 1.5 seconds there. Yep, and this is not going to be a lap to keep together for Ayahuasca. Goodness me, did you hear my controller just vibrate? That was very odd. We do have Bobber Yates in the Red Bull. He's going to be making his way through the final couple of corners now to start one here. One of only 5 drivers currently on track. So we're going to get that final run of quali times in here very shortly. 3.5 minutes to go. In through the first corner, high through the second corner. He's taking too much of the curb. Kind of rode the curb on the way out, and there's some play on the back end there. This lap may be one to throw away here for Barber. He might want to consider just, backing off, saving some fuel, and, cooling back down the tires, saving up the battery, and, getting ready another one here at the end of this lap. We do have 3 minutes to go here. Noganator on an outlap, Cake Thomas on an outlap, Chief Braids, the only other driver on an outlap at the moment, although now we do see the final slew of drivers coming out on track, starting with Anbu Mason, followed by, I believe that's the Williams of Say. No, that's... Well, who is that there, and why have we have a yellow flag for him? A little odd. It was that of Hightower coming out of the pit lane. He was slightly slow to get going there, and that was odd. Goodness me, why is this controller vibrating so much? Electric Blade is retired from the session, that being in the pit lane. His time being 1.2 off the pace of the leader, he has deemed that one acceptable enough for his standards. That will be the end of his qualifying session, currently 6th. Only ahead of Cake Thomas by about 1/10 here. Bobber, whoop, and well, I tell you what, he's had a bit of a spin there, unfortunately for him. That is probably going to mean well, it's definitely going to mean the end of his qualifying attempt and maybe the rest of the session here. He's got 1:50. Goodness me. Well, get the car maybe back up to gear here as much as you can into the pit lane. And, well, that one's going to be done for Bobber. I have a feeling that might be the end of his session here. Top 3 drivers now out on outlaps. Ayahuasca making his way through the S's now. Final Flame, who looks to have had a bit of a spin coming out of Degner 1. He's in the grass in the in-between there. And Say making his way through the hairpin. Now we also have Lancey and Reimer on outlaps now. Matter of fact, Lancey looks like he's going to be the first one out of this queue. Actually around, it's going to be his teammate of Cake Thomas, as, well, he's actually gone 6th. He's leapfrogged that of Electric Blade. That looks like it's going to be Cake's final attempt of the session. 1:15 to go now. We'll go along with Lancey. Reimer up after that. Or, no, I had that the other way around. Lancey, Say, Final Flame, Ayahuasca, and Reimer in that particular order there. Lancey, though, making his way through the first couple of corners here. Very quick driver, this. And that's a lot of spin on the back end here. And I think that might just be the end of Lancey's qualifying session. That car really wanted to spin round from him. Had a bit of a tank slapper coming out of the second part of the corner. And that will be, I would think, the end of his session. He's not going to be able to get round to the line again in 35 seconds. Lancey will have to settle for 5th. Say coming through the first couple of corners now. This is where we saw Lancey. Maybe did he take too much curb through the initial corner turn-in phase? That may have been the case. Through the S's now is that of Say. Let's see if he's able to put together a halfway decent one here through the S's. And he'll be going up through Dunlop Curve now. Yet to see anybody spin out at the top of Dunlop Curve, which is usually a very common one to be had. Only 2/100ths faster through the first sector. It's a good time, but that is not going to be safe from the Haas of Final Flame for the time being. In towards the hairpin now. Let's see if Say is able to kind of put together the remaining half of this lap. As coming to the line now, looks like it's going to be one of the McLarens. It is going to be that of Cake Thomas into the pit lane with the Mercedes of Anbu Mason coming through the final stages now. He's gone 8th. Not bad at all from Anbu Mason, but will need a lot to hold on to it. There's a lot of drivers in that same range of time there, which very much could get their way into the top 10. Say making his way towards the Sector 3 timing line now, is now slower by 8/100ths. Say, who for the time being holds pole by 4/100ths of a second over Final Flame, not looking like it's going to be the lap that he needs to cement a pole position here. Out of the final corner he goes. Look how much he's trying to hang it down to the inside. He does not improve. Say, on pole position, but only just and only for now. Final Flame looks to have abandoned, yes, he has invalidated his final attempt here, and that will be the end of qualifying for Final Flame. The Alpine of Ayahuasca going through now. This is the next driver, which could have an opportunity to get round. That was an Alfa Romeo nearly having a go at taking out Ayahuasca there. Very odd. Lancey's retired to the pit lane. Coming to the line now is Ayahuasca. Let's see, does he have enough to get provisional pole? And he does. 1:26.753. Does Reimer have anything in the line now? No. Stays 4th. And Final Flame, as we've seen, has invalidated his final attempt. Ayahuasca pole position, unless does Chief Braids have anything here, and the answer is going to be no. Ayahuasca in the Alpine pole position here. Say second. And oh, by the way, Say was looking good there. His Final Flame had invalidated his final attempt, but Ayahuasca at the death puts one together, and we've got ourselves 0.3 of a second separating the top 4. Hey, Daltonian, what's up, dude? First one you've gotten to watch live in a while. I was going to say, ever? Well, I've only been doing it live a couple of times here, but glad you could join us, man. It's been a very good time so far this season, and yeah, Ayahuasca's going to be happy with that one, although he knows he's not going to be safe here. So pole position for Ayahuasca. Here's going to be your starting grid for the Japanese Grand Prix. Ayahuasca, as we've mentioned on pole, Say second, down by 1/10.5. Final Flame third, only 4/100ths behind Say. Reimer 4th, top 4 separated by 0.3 of a second. A third row lockout here for the McLaren team. Lancey 5th and Cake Thomas 6th. Manigo 7th, Electric Blade 8th, Anbu Mason 9th, Knuckles rounding out the top 10, the Welsh and the Red Bull. 11th is Noganator, 12th Scavney, 13th Call Me Maybe, 14th that of Brian Mosser, 15th is Chief Braids, Bobber Yates 16th, Hightower 17th, and unfortunately for Fire Up Flow did not put together a timed attempt. So, once again, the top 5 separated by a second, the top 4 separated by 0.3 of a second. Very competitive grid here, and with a dry race yet to come, it should be a very entertaining Japanese Grand Prix. Ayahuasca has it for now. Will he be able to hold it? Hey, at least I won't DNF this one. Well, that's certainly the spirit, I guess. I don't know, man. Again, Suzuka, very difficult track to get right in all respects. I mean, this circuit, one of those tracks that you look at, and you really, it's very much a task. It has to be said. This track is grueling. It's unforgiving as well. Very many places to spin off track and hit something, that's for sure. And I'm sure all the drivers do know that tonight, and I'm sure they anticipate that sort of thing, and that's we're going to see a lot of respect to the Suzuka bow. Yeah, I agree with that. I think we're going to see a lot of patience here tonight, and a lot of drivers testing each other's patience. Wouldn't be surprised if we get a Fair Steward report or 2 yet tonight. Not that this grid is dirty or anything, but the tight and close nature of this track really does, from time to time, get on the nerves of the drivers. And obviously, we've got safety cars perhaps in play as well. Just a reminder, in the rounds coming up, Qatar next week, April 11th, Monza, April 18th, Brazil the 25th, May the 2nd, at Miami, and Belgium the next 5. Should be a very entertaining 5 rounds there. All 5 of those tracks, you could argue, great for racing. Has to be said. Qatar, a very quick track, only the one DRS section, but so many opportunities to get the better of the drivers there. A very flowing circuit. Love to see Monza. Well, naturally, it is Monza. It is just one of the best circuits in the world. Brazil follows that up as well. Miami, not a good circuit by any means, but overtakes do happen there. And, well, Belgium needs no introduction. So I've gotten confirmation from Scavney now. Somebody was wondering this earlier, at least in the Discord. No, he's trying to stay out of the way of the car behind, and his rear wheel clipped the wall. He's going to upload it after the race, but I would believe him. He's never been a driver to, commit. And I don't want to say an egregious, problem like that. But again, every driver knows that retiring on track is a big no-no in this league. Just waiting for the formation lap to begin here shortly. And Brian Mosser giving us the command to press the X button, and we'll be in here shortly. Interested to see the tire strategies that will be on display as formation lap about to get underway here for Division 2. And it looks as if the majority have taken the mediums aside from Ayahuasca, the pole sitter, on the hards. More overtakes at Spoon or Turn 1? Well, I tell you what, Spoon is a very difficult track. I would say as far as pure racing overtakes, I think you're going to see him more at Turn 1, but I think Spoon does tend to see a lot of mistakes be made. Maybe do we get an opportunity for drivers to be desperate at the end of the Grand Prix, and we do see overtakes at Spoon Curve? Not very often that. In fact, I would argue that even the hairpin clears on overtakes as far as that's concerned. Spoon is a very difficult corner in its own right, but not really the best for overtaking, as the inside does creep up on you very quickly. And, of course, track limit's difficult to hold on to. But Ayahuasca starting on the hards here, that is a bold decision, has to be said. The rest of the top 7 starting on mediums. What is that? 5 drivers taking the softs, that being Electric Blade, Noganator, Chief Braids, High Tower, and Fire Up Flow. The rest on the mediums. So a couple of drivers holding out for maybe the early safety car would be my guess. Of course, it's a pretty fair estimation to be had. Lots of carnage to be had here. And I definitely expect more today. So Ayahuasca will now have the opportunity. Well, it was going to have the task, more like it, of trying to lead Say into the first corner and clear the Williams around the outside into that first corner. See, a lap 11 to 13 for soft to mediums. Medium hard is 13 to 17. Ayahuasca will have to get away well here. There's no doubt about it. And being on the hard tires, that's going to be one hell of an opportunity and a task for him to try to accomplish. Say to the inside on the medium tires is definitely going to have a good start here. I think that we're really going to see perhaps even a Senna and Prost ordeal into the first corner here, just on the pace differential between the two cars. Maybe will Ayahuasca try to get over and block Say down low, and then contact gets made? I don't know what the outcome's going to be, but what I do know is this: Ayahuasca a disadvantage here off the start, and he's going to have to work for it. As we're just waiting. And the lights now beginning to turn on here, I would assume and hope, in Suzuka. 4 lights on, and then 5. And for the 5th time this season, Division 2 is underway. Ayahuasca does presumably, he's actually gotten away quite well there. Say looks to the inside, although side by side through the first corner, and somehow they're going to keep it clean, although Say with the acceleration down to the inside, and he's taking the top spot going through turn 1. Actually a little bit unbelievable there. I did not expect him to have that much pace on the inside, but he's done just that, and now Ayahuasca starting on the hards is getting the better of him here. He's lost the position to Final Flame as well. Further back, Reimer under pressure. He's in a McLaren sandwich at the moment, not necessarily where you want to be, as McLaren of Cake Thomas trying to find something here. Yellow flag at the back. It's Bobbert Yates going up through Dunlop corner. The track stays green ahead as they make their way out of Degner 1 and Degner 2. Big wiggle there for the Aston Martin of Mandigos, and there's a front wing missing, and I believe that belongs to the Noganator. He's gotten caught up in the McLaren, and I think another front wing being lost there. That was the Red Bull of Knuckles, I believe. Several end plates being shed there. Knuckles getting into the back end of Van Boo Mason. Noganator getting in the back end of Mandigos after his mistake coming out of Degner 2. Lots of front wing being shed here already. We're going to look at a chaotic race here already off the start. Scavney and Knuckles. Oh, and Knuckles is gone. Well, that wasn't Knuckles, as a matter of fact. That's of Noganator, who's gone wide going through the spoon curve, and now 3 wide behind. Oh, goodness me, that's a massive accident. Only virtual safety car. I mean, that car gotten clean into the air there. I think it was Chief Braids, and well, it has to be said, that one was quite obviously going to happen. You try to fit 3 cars side by side like that, and I'm afraid that it's just never going to go well. I'll try to rewind a little bit. It was Noganator who had gone wide coming out of the spoon curve. He had gotten back on track and had kind of gotten caught up in the sandwich behind. Was call me maybe Noganator, and I think it was Chief Braids as well. No, it wasn't Noganator, actually. I think it may have been somewhere else in there. I don't know. There was a lot of drivers kind of in that vicinity, but all we know is that Chief Braids ends up to the inside of the backstretch there, and his day is done. Noganator, Knuckles, and Fire Up Flow take to the pit lane here, so at least 3 drivers. Oh, it was Knuckles and Fire Up Flow. That's probably who the third was in that accident there. But if you look at the replay again, that car was actually airborne there for quite a little bit, and it safely came back down. Just unfortunately, safely is not the right word, as the car is no longer in one piece. Making their way through the hairpin now. Say will lead here once we get back to green. Virtual safety car still on track here. The car's speed's being reduced by at least, I would say, 40%, but we've got 2 drivers now picking up drive-through penalties, that being Noganator and Fire Up Flow, as Cake Thomas getting around Reimer there. Oh, and that is Lancey off spinning around at the spoon curve. Reimer will get back to 4th. And a very odd turn of events there. Cake Thomas overtook the Aston Martin ahead. Then Lancey spins around. I think Cake Thomas may have needed to lift after his teammate spins off the track. Maybe was he in the way? And, Reimer back up to 4th. Cake Thomas and Reimer now, once again, side by side, this time in towards the KCO Triangle. Reimer will stay ahead for the time being. DRS will be activated, although they won't get it until they come out of the final corner next time by. This may be a look for the lead here. Meanwhile, a little bit further back, Cake Thomas trying to defend from Electric Blade into the first corner, side by side again. Reimer and Cake Thomas going through the first corner. Reimer's gotten down to the inside and will once again hold the 4th spot. And now Electric Blade trying to find his way in this, as well as Slows Mandigos here. These 4 cars battling very hard here. It's going to be a fun one to try to watch. And as we expected, Ayahuasca in the hard tires has fallen off here at the beginning, but he's still in this enough to at least remain kind of in the picture, has to be said. It looks as if he may just be taking it a little bit calm for right now, but, calm is never the right word to use to describe Suzuka, and I'm afraid that he might have to work just a little bit here, especially if he wants to get around Final Flame and that of Say to retake the lead of the Grand Prix. Through 200R they go now. This is one of the closer battles on track, so we'll stay with it. Through the spoon curve they go. I would argue that Say has gotten away only slightly better than that of Final Flame, but on exit of the corner, I would say it was pretty dead even there. Maybe does Say get away better? We'll have to wait and see. 0.4 of a second here is a good little gap to have, especially with DRS coming up out of the final corner here. That might be something to definitely look for here. A little bit further back, Reimer and Cake Thomas again. That were side by side going through 130R. That's ridiculous. And now this time as they go through the chicane here, well, Reimer's going to stay ahead. We'll check back with that in a minute as Mandigos goes around to the back. Well, he's had a trip through the gravel somewhere in that exchange. He's fixed it, whatever it was. There's Final Flame down to the inside of Say. Cake Thomas this time finally getting around Reimer, and Reimer now having to defend from Electric Blade down to the inside. Reimer losing almost 2 spots there, but will only drop to 5th for the time being, as we did see Mandigos have a bit of an off going through the gravel there towards the back end of the lap, and Final Flame getting around Say, so the battle for the lead well underway. That's our second lead change of the Grand Prix so far. Third different leader as Ayahuasca led on the way into turn 1. Say took the inside and the top spot as well. Electric Blade just went heavy through the gravel there. I don't know if you were able to really see that, but that car was well into the gravel on the outside of Degner 1. On the way into Degner 2, I'm a little surprised he held onto the car as well as he did, because that was a noticeable hiccup there for the Ferrari. Up through the spoon curve now. Well, that was a noticeable wiggle that time from Final Flame. Exiting the corner now. He's gone off track. That'll surely be a track limits warning there for the Haas. Say in pursuit now. He's got, well, he'll have DRS going down the pit straight, but look how much battery that the Williams has been able to save up here. Final Flame will defend well into the chicane. We'll have to wait and see if he's able to hold on. Lancey getting around Brian Mosser there towards the back after Lancey's spin a couple of laps ago. DRS activated now going down the pit straight, and Say might have this one relatively easy here. He's got a lot of battery. Final Flame using it to try to defend. Down the pit straight they go in towards turn 1. Final Flame stays ahead for the time being. A little bit further behind, Scavney and Mandigo side by side. The AlphaTauri will get down to the inside, and he will be able to get around the Aston Martin and up towards the 8th spot. We'll have a look now at the drivers' movements here, although Brian Mosser and Hightower may have had a bit of a thing going on there. Noganator into the pit lane, I believe, serving his drive-through penalty. Top 2 within 0.2 of a second going through Degner 1 and 2. A hugely risky place to be so close to this. And now as they head towards the hairpin, let's see, does Say try anything funny? Well, it looks as if he's going to try to hold on to the outside here. Maybe does he get away better with acceleration? A little bit further behind, Reimer and Cake Thomas now battling out of the hairpin. It looks as if that's going to stay the same for now. Electric Blade is getting his way back into that battle after the little hiccup a couple of laps ago. I think it was just last time by, actually, but through the spoon curve now. Oh, that was a little bit of a wiggle there from Say. He's lost about 0.2 of a second. Meanwhile, somewhere in the proceedings, Ayahuasca has lost 2.5 seconds to this battle. Ayahuasca was right there. He was about 0.6 behind not all that long ago. I think that Alpine may have had something happen to him. Final Flame will defend the left side. Into the chicane they go. Say is right here, and he's really trying to find a way around the Haas to retake the lead of the Grand Prix. Down the pit straight they go. DRS activated. That rear wing opening, giving you 12-mile-an-hour extra pace. And now, well, he's just simply not going to have the look, has to be said. I thought Say was going to have one that time. He didn't. Reimer now around the outside of Cake Thomas. Oh, and that's contact. And, well, Reimer, it has to be said, will do well to kind of hold on to the car there. I don't think Cake Thomas hit anything except for the Aston Martin, and Electric Blade will actually get the spot over both of them. But as I look at the incident a second time here on my second screen, they were going through the first corner side by side. I think maybe did Reimer turn in a little too much. That it very much could be the case again. Trying to make their way through that corner is a difficult one to be said. You know, going through the corner side by side, there's just not that much room. And what I look at there now, as I see, I've looked at that. And this will be the third time I look at it here. Reimer had initially outbraked the McLaren, and I think Cake may have gone deep into the braking zone and got into the left, to the right rear of Reimer, and I think that may have been where the accident had came from. A little bit odd. I mean, not really any fault on either driver there. I think Cake Thomas, whether it was his fault or not, has dropped the position to Reimer. Reimer has dropped the position to Electric Blade. So maybe can they get away with not really needing a report for that? Of course, neither driver having damage. They've both regained track position as best they could. To the inside now with Say. This will be the move for the lead of the Grand Prix with Final Flame, and he's done him nicely there. Very nicely done there for. As we have a little bit of an interesting one now. Reimer getting around Electric Blade. I think Electric may have had a mistake coming out of the final chicane, because Electric Blade suddenly overtaking, or being overtaken by Reimer, which we didn't initially see coming. making their way through the S's now. 7 laps complete here. Or sorry, this is the 7th lap of the Grand Prix, so 6.5 laps complete if we're going to get specific. But either way, we've seen about 4, maybe 5 lead changes so far between Final Flame and say the current leader. Ayahuasca's been in that battle as well, but isn't for the time being. Matter of fact, Ayahuasca losing time here very quickly. Was about 0.6 of a second behind when this battle was initially taking place. Has since then dropped outside of 2.5 seconds. Now outside of 3.5 seconds. I think that Alpine might just be struggling massively here, has to be said, as he's losing time very quickly. And look at this. Final Flame nearly had to go into the grass there before going into 130R. That would have been risky. I mean, he was almost fully in the grass that time. There's no way around it. I mean, that was wild, has to be said. Down the pit straight they go this time. Let's see if Final Flame will have anything here. Meanwhile, Electric Blade trying to strike back at Reimer. You can see them at the back of your picture now. Final Flame will get around the Williams in towards turn 1. Now does Electric Blade have anything for Reimer here down the pit straight? Not quite. Not for the time being. A little bit further back, does Anbu Mason have anything for Scavney? Down to the inside. Scavney up to 7th here, up 5 spots since the beginning. And oh, by the way, those have been legitimate on-track overtakes as well. That AlphaTauri driver has done very well here in the opening stages. And, well, he'll hold on to the 7th spot for now. But Anbu Mason and Mandigos getting very close to that one for the time being. I'm going to open my drink here really quick. Making their way through 200R now. Say within 0.2 of a second here of Final Flame. Looks to me as if these cars are pretty much bang even on straight line. As we have a yellow flag, that's that of Fire Up Flow retiring in the pit lane. These cars seem very even in the straight line here. Through the slow speed, I would give the edge to Say. As through 130R they go now. That was taken much better the time from the Williams, and he's had to very much lift off there. As, Final Flame couldn't really make up his mind on what line to defend. And Say staying in pursuit, waiting for the Haas to move to one side or the other, didn't, and had to lift there. But Say now, does he have something going to the right side? Well, I tell you what, Final Flame nearly forced him the long way around. It was a good defensive maneuver there as Say stays behind. Down the pit straight they go. Electric Blade not close enough to Reimer this time to make something happen here. The grid's starting to get a little bit slightly spread out here, although the first round of pit stops will be happening here shortly. A couple of drivers still on the softs, the majority of the grid on the mediums, so we'll be seeing that around that 13, maybe 14 lap mark. Going up to the hairpin now is still the battle for the lead. Final Flame holds it for now. Into the spoon curve they go. Still 2.5 of a second. I would say that Williams arguably looks better in the slow speed. As they make their way down the backstretch now, I think Final Flame did get a much better exit, as Say was at a slight bit of a disadvantage there. Through 130R now. This is where Say had the advantage last time. Now down to the inside. Final Flame defends to the left, and Say does not want to commit to the inside there and careen into the side pod of the Haas, so he'll stay hold position for now. But down the pit straight they go. Meanwhile, Mandigos getting around Anbu Mason there for the 8th spot. Down the pit straight they go. Does Say have anything down to the inside? Final Flame trying to block low. Not going to work there. Say does retain the lead to the Grand Prix here. Or, sorry, regain. English is apparently not my first language, as it turns out. Reimer getting around Ayahuasca there. Very nicely done for the Aston Martin, who was about 3 seconds behind Ayahuasca not all that long ago. I'm wondering what's happening with Ayahuasca. Does he have some sort of side pod damage or something that is limiting the speed of that Alpine? Because he is falling back drastically here, has to be said. I mean, we expected him to be slow off the start, being that he started on the hard tires. And the drivers, the rest of the top 7 started on the mediums, so we expected him to be at a disadvantage, but that car is unusually slow here. I'm assuming either side pod or rear wing damage that we can't see for the Alpine here, because he has lost 6 seconds back to the top two. And again, it's so odd considering just how quickly he has fallen off of the pace here. Mike Brady, hello, how you doing? Top two again, battling it down the back straight here towards 130R. It's 0.2 of a second between the top two, who have traded positions left and right since the beginning of the Grand Prix. Say defends to the right, then as Final Flame tries to look to the left, he's not left. The Williams has not left the Haas much room there, and as, well, he's going to have to wait going down the pit straight now. Let's see, does the Haas have anything here? He's going to try to look probably to the inside. That he does. Down the pit straight he goes, heading toward the first corner. Contact being made there between the right front tire and the side pod of the Haas, but Final Flame will take the top spot. Very nicely done for Final Flame. That's now the third time in the Grand Prix he has retaken the lead. Down the pit straight now is Anbu Mason. Does he have anything on Mandigos here? In towards the first corner, and it looks as if they're going to remain side by side. Lots of contact being made there. The virtual hand of displeasure being shown by the Mercedes driver, and now side by side through the S's. And it looks as if Mandigos is going to once again kind of get ahead of the Mercedes there, but a little bit of contact going through turn one, and I think that one, kind of glad that one didn't boil over, as those two drivers were hitting each other quite a lot there. In that period of time. Hightower into the pit lane here. I'm just wondering what... well, he's gone to the hards either way. Maybe was he one of the drivers who started on the soft? That's what I'm assuming he's done there. So first driver of the day to really make, I would say, a strategical pit stop. Everybody else who has pit has probably been more for a front wing change than anything else. But down the back straight once more. Say doing well, and again, in the slipstream of the Haas here, Say does look to be very quick. Now looks to the left side as they make their way into the KCO triangle. Final Flame will outbreak them on the outside and will keep the spot for now. But as they exit the final corner, I would argue the Williams gets away better. Final Flame had a lot of wheel spin getting on acceleration there to the inside, and the Williams will take the spot. Very nicely done as down the pit straight they go, and he'll clear them before they get to the braking zone in towards turn one. So nicely done. Ayahuasca already falling outside of Reimer here. Electric Blade into the pits, but we got this battle here. Scavney was looking like he was in position to cake there, but is not close enough to make something happen. Electric Blade has gone to the medium tires. Into turn one here. Does Anbu Mason have anything on Lancey? Now, Lancey, remember, earlier on had the spin going through the spoon curve and has since clawed back a good amount of positions here. Matter of fact, he's now only down 3 compared to where he was, fell back all the way to P12 after the spin. So good to see him regain composure, the Flying Dutchman, who, well, if you follow any of the other leagues that I've been commentating on that you can find on my channel and the other channels that I do work with, you'll know that guy has won a fair few races recently, and he's been on one hell of a run, has to be said. So to see him a little bit further behind than normal is very odd to see out of Lancey, but I have no doubt he'll find his way back towards the top here shortly. Out of the spoon curve they go. Scavney really in position here on Cake Thomas. Both of these drivers, some of the most veteran drivers in Midwest F1. Scavney coming in Division, the first season in Division 2. Cake, I think, either the season after in Division 3 when we first had Division 3. As the battle for the lead now, side by side through the first corner. I'm sorry, I'm only just catching along with this, but they are really side by side here. Contact being made, and now through the S's they go. I mean, they better sort this one out quickly, or this is going to be a catastrophe here. Scavney has retired suddenly. I don't even know how that's happened, but that car is off track, well to the inside. I mean, sorry to cut away from the battle for the lead, but I was convinced we were going to have a safety car there. As Scavney retires from the Grand Prix, he's gone through the grass. Perhaps was there contact made with somebody, and that's the end of the race for the AlphaTauri. So unfortunate for him. I have no idea what's happened there. Again, very odd place to go off track. I mean, that is just very, very weird there. I would almost have to expect foul play, because Scavney doesn't make mistakes like you or me do. Down the back straight they go now once again. Say within a couple of tenths here, Final Flame. That was a great battle going through the first sector last time by. Say, does he look around the outside through 130R? No. He might be a little insane. It's not that bad, though. In towards the final chicane they go. And it looks as if he's going to hold on here. He's actually maybe going to get away slightly worse, but no, look at this. Double dive into the pit lane for the top two here. A bit of copycat gamesmanship going on here with Say, as copying the strategy of Final Flame. But let's see, what tire strategies do they choose? It's going to be hard tires for the Haas. I'm assuming hards for the Williams as well. Yep, those are the white striped hard tires going on. And, well, we're going to pick up right where we left off here with the top two battling now for 4th and 5th as Reimer, Ayahuasca, and Cake Thomas stay out. As they exit the pit lane. Oh, let's see who gets their tires up to temperature here first. That's going to be the name of the game. These hard tires, so difficult to build heat into. And that may prove to be a mistake made if they can't get up to speed correctly, although it has to be said they've both done well here. Mandigos, Anbu, Mason, Bobbert, Yates, and Brian Moss are into the pit lane now. I would assume hard tires going on for them. Yep, pretty much hard tires for everybody except Electric Blade, who I think maybe either took softs or hards off the start. The top four have yet to pit here. Ayahuasca, now the top spot. Oh, look at this. Say nearly having a look to Final Flame here. Lots of contact. And Say wanted something into the inside of the hairpin there. Final Flame was held up behind the McLaren Lancia on the outside and, well, thought he was going to be able to defend the inside. Say thought he was going to have the opportunity to have a look to the inside, and it's not happened. That was a very close one indeed there. And the second time we've seen these guys really, I'm not going to say lose patience with each other, but they've got to be getting frustrated that they keep having to overtake each other. Surely at some point, one of them's going to make a mistake, and then the other's going to come out to a fair lead here. Final Flame chooses the outside. Lancey blocks again to the right. Bit odd there. 3 cars, all nose to tail here, going through the final chicane. And now, does Lancey decide to pit? Oh, but look at this. Cake Thomas has nearly binned it coming in towards the pit lane, as 3 abreast down the pit straight now. Remember, this was an incident going in towards 130R side by side. Lancey nearly losing position there. Say actually gets them both down to the inside and up to the second spot there. Not necessarily a lot of contact being made, but goodness me, that one was risky. And, well, risking it for the biscuit, as they say. As I will say, never mind, I'm not going to continue with trying to make the puns there. Say it's up second place now will eventually take the lead of the Grand Prix. Anbu Mason getting around Cake Thomas there. That was through turn 1. Good-looking move. That, unfortunately, we didn't get a chance to see it. Going through the hairpin now, and as you can see, Ayahuasca 10 seconds ahead. He will drop to at least 6th here, will be my guess. Maybe a little bit less. Going through the spoon curve now, and it looks as if Final Flame still within position here. He will have a fair opportunity at Say. Down the backstretch here towards 130R, perhaps coming out of the final corner is going to have to be where that move gets made. And no, look at this. Say is going to have to defend the inside line here. Final Flame will have to outbrake him here, and chooses the safe route for the time being. But now, as they go through the final corner, both cars having all the heat built into the tires that they need. Down the pit straight they go. Final Flame to the inside, and that one is going to be made very nicely there for the Haas of Final Flame. Move made by the Haas. Back up to second. Electric Blade now to the inside of Reimer. That will be for the 5th spot. Electric Blade still in the fresh medium, so we can assume that car is going to be right quick here for the time being. Now has a 5-second disadvantage to the McLaren of Lancey for the 4th spot. But once again, the battle for once again the eventual lead of the Grand Prix here within a couple of tenths of a second. These drivers have been on each other all day long. Pause as the McLaren of Cake Thomas does get around Anbu Mason for the 8th spot. Hightower getting around Knuckles now. Oh, look at that. Knuckles has actually been done in twice there. His teammate of Bobber Yates has actually made a double overtake, both on his teammate and the Williams of Hightower. Unfortunately, Knuckles gets into the side of Hightower there, it looked, going through the first corner. That will, I'm sure, being a Steward Report later on. Hightower definitely does enjoy making friends with the Steward Report channel. Not a knock against him, it's just the truth. Anyways, making their way out of down the backstretch now. We'll have to wait and see if Say can make something happen here to Final Flame. Once again, it appears Say has the better exit of the corner, but it's not really close enough. As Ayahuasca, a 5-second penalty for speeding into the pit lane. I'm afraid the day goes from bad to worse for the Alpine in question. Down the pit straight they go. Does Say have a look on Final Flame here? Final Flame decides to defend the inside, and Say will go the long way around and will get the top spot. It looks as if Lanty into the pit lane. Electric Blade will stay third. Reimer looks as if will stay fourth. No move in position there. So making their way through the Dunlop curve now. 0.3 of a second the gap as down the pit straight they go. It looks like the McLarens might be coming out close together here. 0.2 of a second still. Next time by will be 10 laps to go here. Final Flame looks to the inside. Not quite. Final Flame's been doing really well here at just staying with Say. I mean, again, you could have argued that Say was the quicker car. Matter of fact, he was, but Silla was only 0.04 of a second in the qualifying session, the difference between these two. And, well, it has to be said, this battle has been incredible. It's turning into an instant classic here very quickly. And I can't wait to see the conclusion of this. This time by will be 10 laps to go with the stripe. Does Final Flame try anything around the outside? The answer is going to be no. We'll have to wait and see. Does he have an advantage making their way out of the final corner this time? Actually, I would say Say gets away much better as 5.5 of a second already. Final Flame will not have the chance to overtake him this time into the first corner unless he really sends it on the brakes here, which he's not going to do. Final Flame, the hiccup coming out of the final corner, does prevent him from making the overtake that time, but Reimer to the inside will make the overtake on Electric Blade, that being for the third spot. These two have been battling it out quite a bit as well. It has to be said, it's been some brilliant racing today. As Brian Motzer and Hightower swapping positions here, that's going in towards 130R as the Alpine does get around the Williams in question. Making their way, Knuckles in a bit of hot water now for 12th. Oh, and that's a lot of wheel spin there for Hightower, and he's lost a lot of ground. Bobber Yates getting around, call me maybe, but now does Knuckles have the ability to defend against Brian Mosser here? Brian's going to go around the outside, and that one's going to be easy, does it, for the Alpine, but takes a lot of the curb going on exit of turn one. That one kind of got close there. I was a little bit expecting to see... Well, I don't know. A lot of the times we have seen drivers take too much of the curb exiting turn one, and it ends up being a massive mistake. As, oh, by the way, now is the time. I'm sorry, I'm only just going to get to this now, but we now have the ability to go side by side with the real-life Suzuka FP1 session, which is kicked off about, 1 minute ago. So I am now watching both sessions as we go here. The big story so far is Daniel Ricciardo being replaced for this first practice session by Iwasa from F2, the Japanese driver making his FP1 debut here today at the Suzuka circuit, which should be great for him. A double Japanese lineup for the V-Carbs this weekend, at least in FP1. So 1 minute in the session here, only just, I believe that's one of the McLaren drivers out on track first. No, that is the AlphaTauri, that of Iwasa making his way out. Lancey, the fastest lap of the session so far. He actually gets around Mandigos going down the pit straight, and that will be the 6th spot for Lancey. If he's able to hold on to it or not, that'll be the question. Bit interesting to see Suzuka on display here in the fall, or sorry, in the spring rather. Usually it is in the fall, and cold weather and rain are typical of the Suzuka circuit in that time of the year, and well, it does appear that we could get even more of that even this weekend. Just looking at some of the crowd shots here, most of these fans are dressed in their hooded sweatshirts, so that would lead me to believe it is not the warmest of weekends at Suzuka, but we are talking about the real-life Suzuka Grand Prix but where it's not warm in real life, it's a hot one here, as Final Flame now, a 10th of a second behind Say, in towards the final chicane once again here. Final Flame, now this is where he had the mistake a couple of laps ago on the back of Say, as they made their way. Oh, what's happening here? Oh, that's a massive unsafe release that time for that McLaren coming out of the garage there, I'm afraid. In toward the first corner, nothing happening. I think that may have been Norris coming out of the pit lane. That will certainly be a fine there. That was noticeable unsafe release as Ayahuasca down to the inside gets around Electric Blade. Although having the 5-second penalty, that Alpine suddenly looking like it's got pace on him now. Remember that first stint of the Grand Prix, we were very concerned for Ayahuasca because that car was losing time very quickly to the cars ahead, despite starting on pole. And there's confirmation there. Ayumu Iwasa with dams in F2, making his FP1 debut here in front of the home crowd. I mean, that has got to be just the best feeling in the world right there, has to be said, as a young driver. Through the spoon curve once again here. This time, Final Flame does not appear to be as close to Say as he has been recently. Down the backstretch they go. So it'll be 7 laps to go this time by. Getting closer to the final stages of this Grand Prix, and it's been a great one so far. We started with 18, we're down to 15. No safety car required for either of the 3 accidents. Oh, that was a big wiggle from Say. Coming out of the final corner, Final Flame's going to have a very fair shot this time. Down the pit straight they go. Final Flame around the outside. Say nearly puts him into the grass there. Trying to defend as much as he can to the outside. As Ayahuasca, fastest lap of the session, he is getting very close to Reimer now for that 3rd spot. Of course, having the 5-second penalty, he will lose, I'm assuming, a couple of positions. But either way, Ayahuasca now starting to put in some great laps here. So exiting Degner 1 and 2, Say still leads Final Flame by half a second here as they make their way in through the hairpin now. Closest battle on track is still the battle for the lead. We do also have Knuckles and Hightower battling a little bit further behind. Let's see, does Knuckles have anything for Hightower here? Nope, it's not quite going to be close enough. Through the spoon curve they go. A little bit of slip on the back end there for Say. Noticeable amounts of correction. Down the back straight they go. And for the time being, Final Flame still not really in contention of trying to get around the Williams here. Although 0.3 of a second is no joke of a gap, I'm assuming Final Flame could very much have an opportunity to overtake Say if Say makes a mistake here coming out of the final corner. Down the pit straight they go, and this time, once again, Final Flame, 0.4 of a second. Where does he look this time? Say's defended the outside very well. He's going to try the outside once more, and Say again decides to defend and does not leave Final Flame the opportunity around the outside, which is slightly odd to me. I would think he would more or less want to defend the inside and try to send him the long way around. I don't know. Maybe it's driver preference, but yeah, I don't know. Little odd. Good defending, though, either way. I mean, nothing to fault the Williams driver. He's defended very well, but the decision-making, not the ones I would make, at least. But then again, I'm not driving, and they are. So that's the difference between that. So this time by, on lap 23 of 27, we will have 5 laps to go here, and a very entertaining Japanese Grand Prix, which has only seen the 1 virtual safety car. I mean, I tell you what, it's been a great one on display here again. These tracks that don't always provide the best racing in real life do always give us great ones in the virtual world. As the real life session has a look at George Russell there, and perhaps, I don't know what McLaren this is, but whoever it is having a bit of an incident here, going through the final chicane. Really had to step on the brakes there for whatever reason and backed up both George Russell and the V-Carb as well in that, as Carlos Sainz having a spat with the Alpine, then going in towards the S's. But down the pit straight they go. 5 laps to go this time by. Final Flame gets within 0.2 of Say. Not close enough to make anything happen. I will open the telemetry now, if I can actually find the right button. I will open the telemetry now. 70% battery for Final Flame, 67 for Say. I mean, these two really thinking alike here. Neither of them have really been using their energy store. Say will have to use it to defend. Final Flame will have to use it to attack here. But when does Final Flame decide that the timing is right in order to try to make something happen to Say? I mean, that's going to be the big question. because realistically, Say has him beat in the straight line. I mean, I don't really know if that's true or not. That's kind of what my look has been. Because even without the slipstream, Say has been able to hold on to that spot. And now this gap will eclipse 7/10 of a second for probably one of the only times so far this Grand Prix, it has to be said. These two have been right on each other's tails the whole way through. We'll have 4 laps to go this time by. 24, 5, 6, and 7, the remaining laps yet to go here. As down the back straight they go, and again, Final Flame, not really close enough. I think this Haas might just be better in the slow speed set. Well, that's what I thought I said earlier about the Williams. And it's gone the other way around now. I think Say might be the better car here, but down the pit straight they go, half a second or less. Does Final Flame have a look to the inside of Say? No, he'll once again choose the outside, but this time gets alongside the Williams. Nearly has a look, and, won't have it this time, but a fair effort from Final Flame. Enough to, I think, at least get the Williams ahead, and a little bit of guessing going on there, a little bit of sweat, I'm sure, trickling down the foreheads of the competitors here, as it has been a very intense battle the entirety of the way of the Grand Prix. So 9 minutes into the FP1 session. Lando Norris at the top of the table, 131.781. Alonso second, Hamilton third, Sainz fourth, Piastri the top 5. Out of the hairpin they go. Iwasa already back in the pit lane. They are disassembling the side pod of the V-Carb in question, which is interesting sight to see already. Through the spoon curve here once again. Final Flame, I think this time does get not necessarily a better exit than Say, but at least one to really make him think here. Going through 130R, Final Flames held it really well. We got a Red Bull off at the top of Dunlop Curve. It's Bobber Yates. He's around. He hasn't really hit anything. Track stays green, thankfully. No virtual safety car and no real safety car as exiting the final corner now once again. 3 laps to go. Does Final Flame have anything here? If he gets around Say now, he'll still have to defend for 2 laps, and that might be a very difficult task to undertake, as these two have, again, they've been very similar on pace, and I'm thinking, I don't know, I mean, Final Flame may look to have that one on the final lap going down the pit straight. I think at that point, if he does, it's going to really result in some hefty reaction from Say. I think if he does it this time by, that may sway the momentum in the favor of the Haas, which Final Flame, I would say, desperately needs now. We've gone probably at least 10 laps here without a lead change, which is massive for what these two have been doing. Making their way now through the spoon curve here. Only the one driver on time penalty. That is Ayahuasca for going too fast entering the pit lane. Call me maybe losing spots there. He's into the pit lane, in and out. Down the back straight now. Final Flame really all over the back of Say now, going through 130R. This might be the opportunity. Final Flame trying the left-hand side. Say will outbrake and hold the Haas at bay now into the chicane. And now out of the final corner, once again here, 2 laps to go. Down the pit straight they go. Final Flame is looking for it now. Round the outside. Say will not have enough to defend here unless does he outbrake, and the Haas of Final Flame retakes the lead with 2 to go. Say looking like he might be under a bit of pressure now, although what I will say is this, that they're both still very even on battery. Say 10% less than Final Flame, but the pace has been all the same between the two drivers. Remember, they're on equal tire strategy. They pit one after the other. That was a big slide that time, going through Dunlop for Say. Now making their way through the second Degner for the penultimate time here. And going in through the hairpin, 4.5 of a second. Do we see Say come alive? He will need to make the overtake going down the pit straight this time by, but he's not had a good exit of the hairpin. Final Flame gets ahead by a couple of tenths, but Say already shaving that time right back off. Going through the spoon curve again for the penultimate time here. Exiting the corner, the pace has been so even by these two all day long. Remember, it was 4/100ths which separated the two in qualifying, and now coming to the white flag here, final lap of the Grand Prix. Say really in position. He'll have to do it down the pit straight this time, as we have a yellow flag. It's the Aston Martin of Los Manigos off of Degner 2, out of the final corner for the penultimate time. Big wiggle for Say, but he's got the battery. But also, Final Flame has the battery to defend. Down the pit straight now, DRS activated to Say. Look to the inside. That was a big defense from Final Flame, and Say gets the position into the first quarter, but Final Flame strikes back to the inside. Contact being made between the two, and Say goes off track. And they were into the corner. Say had gotten around the Haas fair and square, and I think there was enough contact there to warrant maybe looking at a steward report there between the two, as that was a noticeable amount of contact through the first corner between Final Flame and Say there going through the first corner. But now Say still has time here. Could he get the lead back on track? He's got about a half lap to go here. Does he get it back without the aid of the stewards? As we get a yellow flag, I think it's Bobbert Yates going up through Dunlop. Yes, it is. Out of the hairpin for the final time. It's 0.4 of a second here between the top two. Going through 200R, going towards the spoon curve. This is where Say starts to really have the advantage over Final Flame. Going through the final sets of corners now. Does Say have anything here? No. Final Flame's gotten away much better, as Ayahuasca getting around Reimer into the spoon, but the battle for the lead here, 0.4 of a second in closing through 130R for the final time. Does Say have anything to outbreak the Haas here into the chicane? He will try, but I don't think he's going to have enough. Through the chicane they go, and I think it will go the way of Final Flame. Yes, it will. The Haas driver will win the Japanese Grand Prix. Say finishes second. It's a brilliant effort and an instant classic here in Division 2. And Reimer, something has happened. I think that Aston Martin is on low fuel. Yes, he is. The Aston Martin on low fuel mode. And he's going to struggle to stay fifth here. Does Lancey overtake him? No, it looks as if Reimer may get it. It's going to be close there to the line. Reimer does get the spot. Lancey sixth. But I think maybe, was there enough to warrant a steward report from Say out of that defense in the first corner on the final lap? Say had outbrake the Haas into the first corner. The Haas had tried to get it stuck there on the inside, and I think maybe did he force the Williams wide. 0.3 of a second separate them on track, but a steward report might be on the way. That is a big question mark to be had, but what I have no doubt in is the absolute banger of a Grand Prix we have seen today. Well, Final Flame taking the win here. I have a feeling that we're going to see steward reports, but for the time being, the Haas can celebrate that one. Hightower picking up driver of the day. Hey, staying out of trouble, that's one way to do it. That's for sure. So after it's all said and done here in Japan, pending steward reports later to come in the week, Final Flame taking the win On the final lap of the Grand Prix, Say, a brilliant effort for him, takes second, Ayahuasca third, Electric Blade fourth. Reimer finishes fifth after running out of fuel on the last lap. Lancey sixth. Seventh is Cake Thomas, eighth is Ambu Mason, ninth is Brian Mosser, 10th is Mandigos, 11th is Hightower picking up driver of the day after starting 17th. Knuckles 12th, Call Me Maybe 13th, Noganator 14th. Bobber Yates, the final driver of the grid to actually finish the Grand Prix. Everyone else behind it, not so lucky. Well, an instant classic this week in Division 2. I'm sure more of the same next week when we head to the Losail circuit in Qatar for the 6th round of this Division 2 season. Hotspot, it's been a pleasure joining you here once again, and we'll see you next time.